Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to our Shine Call tonight. This is MSD Dawn Otten-Sweeney. It's hard to believe we have just 2 more Shine 6 calls. So that means that Shine 7 is rolling out the beginning of February. So you have the next couple weeks to get registered for that. And, I want you to pray about who do you know that needs to be part of Shine. Whether you have team members on your team, you're a sales director, you're a consultant who has buddies, who do you know that has big and audacious goals for this new year? Who needs a support system? Who needs a coach? Who needs to be challenged? Who needs to get their thoughts lined up with women who have already walked where they want to walk, successfully towards their goals, victoriously, courageously towards their goals in 2017, and pass the information on to them. If you've seen the Shine 7.0 flyer, you'll see that there is a new national joining us, Melody Fox, and I love Melody, but she's not on because I love Melody. She's on because we really believe that God wants her to be part of this Shine program. She was laid on Jamie's heart to be part of this, and so I'm excited to see what God has in store, like what he wants to share through Melody, and I'm hoping that you're positively expectant about that too. You are going to love her. So we will see the directors and DIQs in New Orleans on Saturday. Do know that if you have buddies that aren't yet part of the Shine program, they can register to be part of the Shine program so that they could join us on Saturday, because we have none other than Ann Newberry joining us. That's for sales directors and Shine DIQs. We will be a No Less Saturday night. So tonight we have a treat for you. You've heard, if you've been with us during Push and Shine, I think my husband has trained like 2 other times. And so we just did our Michigan Get Your Year in Gear on Saturday, and the class that he had prepared for everyone was a huge success. It is not uncommon, but after we got done with Get Your Year in Gear, his class for some was the favorite and highlight of the whole workshop. In fact, a majority of them. So wanted to bring this information to you, those who are at the Michigan Get Your Year in Gear. Now you'll have a recording of what Coach Sweeney shared on Saturday. But the title of what he's sharing is Time for a Turnaround, or Do You Need a Turnaround? And I think, in January, most people need some sort of turnaround. You need a turnaround's a pivot. It's a, move from where you're at to the, next best step. So I think that applies to all of us, and, some maybe more than others. We're 11 days into 2017. Do you feel like you're 11 days in momentum into your New Year's goals and focus? If not, maybe, some of this information is going to help you. For those who haven't heard my husband speak before, we've been married, it'll be 30 years this June, which is incredible. There'll be 31 years in Mary Kay and 30 years of marriage. So we met in college. He played football at the University of Michigan when Bo Schembechler was the coach. So he played out in the Rose Bowl when they won, and ironically, I was out there watching the game. I was a senior in high school with my family, and that was long before I knew him or of him, or that he would be my husband and the father of my kids. He grew up in a small town in the middle of Michigan, Alma, Michigan, and then we did meet in Ann Arbor in college. And so the beginning of my Mary Kay business, I had just gotten engaged to him when I was living in Cleveland. He was getting ready to go to the Border Patrol Academy. And so he was going to be there for 17 weeks. I started my Mary Kay business in Cleveland, signed my agreement actually the same date that he started his Border Patrol when he became a federal agent, May 19th. And then, so during that 17 weeks, I was building my Mary Kay business. And then when we moved to Arizona, that's where I spent the first 24 months really of my Mary Kay business. So he was stationed there in Douglas, Arizona, and then he was asked to be a physical techniques instructor for the Border Patrol Academy in Brunswick, Georgia. So that's why I lived on St. Simon's Island, Georgia for 8 years. So the first 10 years of our business, the moves were because of his career. And, I look back at that, and I'm so grateful that I built my business around his career. I see so many women who, they don't build their business because their husband's job is crazy and busy. And if I wouldn't have built my business when his business was crazy and busy, when he got to the point that that job was no longer serving his needs and, he wanted to make changes in his life, he may not have had that opportunity if my business wasn't at that point built up to the point that he could leave a 10-year career as a federal agent, a GS-14 position, and my Mary Kay business could make our mortgage payment here in Michigan and could put our, kids in, private Christian school. We had options. And so I am just a big fan of, if you do what God's called you to do, then down the line you're going to be a glad I did versus a wish I had, because he knows really what's ahead for you this week, this month, next year, 10 years down the line. My husband was brought up by a coach as a father, a great high school coach. He's going to talk some about that tonight. And so he's a great coach for me in my business. People will say, "What did your husband do?" He helped a ton with the kids. I took it to heart when Mary Kay Ash said, "When dads take care of their kids, it's not called babysitting. It's called parenting." And so, my husband has gone to as many volleyball and roller hockey games as I have, probably more, honestly. He did all the road trips with them when they were in high school, and it was great. They loved it. He's gone to the grocery store as many times as I have. He's cooked as many times. He changed as many diapers, did as many bottles. But what's so cool about that is that, his kids have a relationship with him that a lot of people, I don't think I really had with my dad, because of my mom was the one that was at home and dad was the one that worked, and you saw on weekends and on vacations. And so when, my husband walked his daughter down the aisle, giving her away in marriage, that was a very cool thing to see, because they knew each other, and her dad was her protector, and someone that she didn't need to have attention from other boys, because she always knew that her dad was there with her. He had lots of time with his kids. So you're going to get to hear from someone who I think has been a great father, is a great coach. He's never worked this business with me. There's some husbands that do newsletters, and they do help out with lots of different things in the business. Dad has not been, part of our life, him doing Mary Kay stuff. He does now do quite a bit of training like this, and when he does, people love it. But you're going to hear, it's because there's so many analogies and similarities to coaching in athletics, coaching people to be their best, and coaching people how to build a business, because ultimately, whether they're using their body as their gift or a business as a gift, you're still teaching them how to be the best that they can be, and those coaching things are the same. So have your pen and paper ready. He is going to share with you, I think, and he may not. After he was a federal agent, he now has a called Jake's House of Iron. So you can look it up. You can see his website. You can see what he does. But he has a training facility where he does functional training, and I don't know what all the correct words are for it, for adults, but trains lots of youth athletes. And, we talk a lot about on Shine and in Mary Kay, that your dreams are attached to other people's. My husband is working in his sweet spot. I mean, not a week goes by that he doesn't have multiple texts or letters from parents and the kids of the impact that he's made on their life, a difference that he's made. And some of the differences, all of them leave there feeling better about themselves. And but, some are have Division I scholarships in college now because of it, and some are playing, the game professionally and are paid to play a game because of it. But to think that, when I was warm booked in that mall 30 and a half years ago, to be a face model for someone, that could turn into the opportunity for my husband to be able to work in his sweet spot and impact so many lives. You guys, that's pretty incredible. It makes walking it out worth it. Not quitting worth it. It really makes not quitting worth it. So I get to turn this over to Coach Sweeney to hear about having a turnaround, making a turnaround, or do you need a turnaround?
Okay, well, thank you. Good introduction. Dawn, I want to thank everyone for, having me come on tonight. Dawn told me about this, I guess it was a couple days ago, and of course I always make a bigger deal than it is. I enjoy it, but I say, it's late, and I just got home, and I had a busy day, and then I think about all these things, and I think, well, so did probably everybody else that's still up listening to this. So hopefully I'll give you some stuff you can use, and we can have a good time and carry on with our business. But I spoke at Dawn's Get Your Year in Gear this Saturday. I call it affectionately Get Your Rear in Gear, and she asked me to put something together, and we never coordinate on this stuff. And it was funny how when you prayerfully consider something, you don't really have to coordinate on stuff because it just kind of lays itself down. But we were talking, and further down tonight I'll talk about metrics and measurement and stuff, and that's exactly what Dawn's theme was over the weekend, and she gave out some rulers with the Proverbs quote on it, and I kind of included that, and I was totally unbeknownst to me that there was going to be any metric or measurement stuff in it, so it really kind of worked out great. But I guess we're going to call this time for a turnaround, and whenever I'm asked to teach, I like to teach or coach, if you will, about something that, usually something that I'm reading or studying, a topic, and also something to make it more impactful is something that I've dealt with myself, be it in my business and building my business and the things that sometimes happen. So when we talk about a turnaround, there's a couple different terms for it. You hear like time for a turnaround or possibly a reset. And it's generally when you or your team or your business needs to perform at a higher level and you're really not doing it, or when you need a little bit more motivation. And I put together some things that will kind of will help. And like I said, when I go through these things, I've dealt with the last couple of years, particularly where I built my business up to a level where I got comfortable and I got complacent. And I didn't continue to do the little things that got me to where I was. And as I was able to reflect on it, looking at numbers and just the things that were going on, I was able to see that I wasn't doing those little things, and those little things make a big difference. And so now you hear these words, this reset and this turnaround, being thrown around by, motivational speakers and life coaches and consultants that people bring on to speak. And I actually, found a book that talked about the turnaround strategies of a football coach that I happen to have a personal relationship with. He's actually the head football coach at University of Michigan, who was a teammate of mine when I played there, a guy named Jim Harbaugh. And he'll be a famous coach someday. He's one of the most driven human beings I've ever known. But some guy wrote a book called The Turnaround Strategies of Jim Harbaugh, and he basically looked at the characteristics that he is able to do when he comes into an organization, or predominantly a football team, and turns it around. And, it's nothing revolutionary. It's pretty basic, actually. So I'm going to give you 4 things and kind of unpack them a little bit and see what you think about this stuff. So the first thing I want to talk about when you talk about a reset or turnaround is you want to focus on the number one most important goal or function of your business. And if it's a sports team, obviously it's winning. If you're an athlete that plays an individual sport, then it's winning. If you're in the cosmetic industry, which you folks are in a direct sales portion, whether it be a consultant or a leader, a director, the number one goal for you guys is obviously, it's a business to make money. And In order to do that, you need to put the product, and it's pretty basic stuff, but you need to put the product on people's faces. And I know that there's a system that you guys use, and I don't know the numbers exactly, but I know in order to get a booking, you have to talk to so many people to get so many bookings. And in order to get a recruit, you have to talk to, so many people to get them involved in the business. So there's ways to, formulate this, and within your sales meetings and your training and your leadership circles, there's these steps put in place to show other people how it's done. And when your business, a lot of times when we're involved in a successful business or something that has a legacy and a history, we take it for granted. And we think that, well, everybody has it this way. That's how people do it. And when I first left federal service, I was a sales rep for a law enforcement company that I used to actually buy from when I was a federal agent. And I had a personal relationship with the CEO of this company. And it was a small company, but a very unique company and a very successful company that sold law enforcement gear. And I worked with them for a few years with a rep group, and I was successful at that, but it wasn't something that I was really passionate about. And I had an amicable break with the company, and the CEO, he was always very interested and intrigued and just loved hearing about the Mary Kay business. He just loved it. I think, obviously I'm passionate about it. As you people have met me and talked to me, I can't say enough good things about it because of the impact it's had on my life, but I also see the passion that people have about this business. And that's what I always seek. I like to be around people that are fired up and passionate. And then, we'd go out to these big dinners, and he'd go with customers and clients, and he and I'd end up sitting at the side, and he'd be asking, well, where are you going on the trip? And what kind of car, getting in new cars? How's your wife doing? And so one day I had talked to this gentleman for several years, because I've been involved in owning my own facility and training people now for the last decade. It seems like I just started last week, but it's actually been 10 years. And he called up one afternoon just to say hello, and we got, reminiscing, talking stuff, and he started telling me about it. He goes, I want to touch base with you. And he said, I'm going to have a big sales conference for my salespeople. And I brought on a new national sales manager, and I want to get him trained. And, I always, think about you all the time. And so here I am, Mr. All About Me. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, he's going to, I had a pretty good record, and he's going to have me come out and talk. And he was talking about, flying out and, addressing the conference and be willing to pay for it and everything. And I just, I was almost ready to think, well, here we go. And he said, and the reason I'm calling is I wanted to know if you might talk to your wife and see if she'd be willing to come out and train our salespeople for us. and I just laughed so hard. I thought, here I go again, thinking about myself. But he had been so intrigued by the Mary Kay business and the success that he wanted Dawn, and she did. We both flew out. He flew us both out, put us up, and paid Dawn a consulting fee for doing sales training for a group of law enforcement people. And they were men and women, but they were taxed with selling law enforcement products. And something that a lot of people can't get real, excited about. It was handcuffs and handcuff keys and batons and flashlights and, all that kind of stuff. But she sat down and just talked about the basics of how many contacts you have to make in order to get a booking or to get a sale, and just these people. She spent 4 hours training these people, and they were just blown away. And I was sitting back there going, this is the basic stuff that you guys learned in Mary Kay. But these people had never been trained that way. And then that evening we went out to dinner and had a really good time, talking about it. And it was great to see the crossover from the basic training that you guys have, I wouldn't say taken for granted, but that you have access to all the time, that these other companies that are successful in spite of having those systems in place. So when we talk about, the number one goal is focus on the most important thing, which is selling product. You have those metrics that go into this, where how many contacts you have to make in order to do this, and you need to always focus on passing that along. When it comes time to reset and to turn around, you need to get back to the basics and say, okay, well, how many people am I going to have to talk to? How many people am I going to have to train? How many people am I have to go to be successful? And in my business, what I do, I have a system where every day I track how many people that I work with, and how much revenue I take in. And I track it daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly. And that kind of gives me a basis for how many new people I have to go based on the people that drop off and things like that. So it's a great measurement system. That's number one. Focus on the most important goal, which is what you do that generates business that makes you successful. Number two, and we always come back to this, is accept coaching. Be willing to have a relationship with somebody that's been successful, that's willing to coach you, but you also are willing to be coached. Now, here's a topic that I think is really good in your business. The coaches that you seek are generally people that have been successful in your business. What a great thing having them part of your team or your area, and as they're teaching you, they get better and for the good of the entire team. I see these people hiring coaches, and I'll probably offend somebody. I may have offended some people Saturday. When you talk about hiring these coaches, and people are getting these life coaches, and they're having these people coach them, and they're paying exorbitant amounts of money for training, and the person that's coaching them has never been successful sometimes, or certainly been successful at a like field. And I'm not talking about counseling. I'm talking about coaching, doing the things that make you better. How can you seek a coach outside of their field of expertise? If a guy came to me and said, hey, I want to be a NASCAR driver, I'm a good coach, but I can't help coach him to drive a NASCAR. And then I see this all the time where people are going outside of the Mary Kay network to seek coaching for stuff that you guys have access to right here. And that generally, to me, is a red flag that the person is unwilling to be coached. So if you get coached, I tell my athletes when they come in and they're sat down with their parents and the kid shares a goal with me and says, well, I want to do this. And I tell them, if you share a goal with me, I'm going to do everything I can to help you achieve that goal. But I guarantee you that there's going to be times that you're not going to like or enjoy, or this process won't be fun. But if you listen to me, I have a track record of helping you become successful. And the same thing holds true in your business. So number two is accept coaching. Number three, and it's another common theme, is anticipate resistance. There's always going to be resistance. You put a plan in place, and you get coaching, and you're moving forward, and you got this thing turned around, and momentum's growing. You're always going to find some naysayers or people that are going to, not buy in to your dream or your parade. And a lot of times it's heartbreaking because those people can be family members, okay? And, and people say, well, what exactly is a naysayer? What exactly do you mean by this? Well, first of all, let me explain that the unique family that I live in, I'm very blessed. Every one of us in my household, okay? Dawn is an entrepreneur. I own my own business. My son Jake has a business degree from a college, but he is pursuing a music career where he's a producer and a DJ. He's very artistic, and he's becoming wildly successful at a young age. My daughter's following in her mother's footsteps as a sales director, once again an entrepreneur. And my son-in-law, Cody, is a professional athlete. So there's 5 people here. We don't exactly have conventional careers, okay? So we don't have to talk to a boss about taking vacation. We don't get health insurance paid for, retirement plans, things like this. We're unique. And a naysayer, I went to a function recently, and I had Jake, my son, and Allie, my daughter, and my son-in-law Cody with me, and myself. We were at a social event, and we were just talking to people. And all 4 of us at a different time ran into someone who was like looking at us and talking to us like they were pitying us, that, well, are you still doing the coaching thing at the gym, and how's that going for you? And then one of the people asked me, so Dawn's still doing the Mary Kay stuff, huh? I'm like, yeah, it's been over 30 years. It's given us an incredible lifestyle. We've seen the world. We drive for free. Yeah, she's still doing the cosmetic thing, and yeah, I'm still doing the gym thing. And then they were talking to Jake about, so, what if this music thing doesn't work out? Or they went to Allie and go, are you still doing the cosmetic stuff? And my son-in-law, well, are you still in the minor leagues? Are you going to be moving up and playing in the NHL sometime in the near future? That is a prime example of a naysayer, someone who's negative they're not fun to be around. And around me, I can feel it. It's like life-sucking and energy-draining. So I ask you, they're naysayers, try to avoid putting yourself in situations where you're around people like that. So if you're going to have that resistance, take yourself out of those environments, okay? That's a great thing to do. And how can you keep yourself away from that? By staying plugged in, by attending regular meetings, by being involved in the calls that are going on, by going to training events, by going to company functions, and being around a group of like-minded, successful people. One of the tenets that I have in my training with athletes and even professional athletes is we train in groups of like-minded athletes, because it creates competition, it creates camaraderie, it creates accountability. It doesn't create a negative thing, and it's, again, a group environment. You get people that work harder than they normally would. If you stay within your Mary Kay circles and you stay involved in these things, through the good times it's good, but through the bad times it can help you stay focused and keep rolling. So number 3 is anticipate resistance. One other thing before I go to number 4, though, as I talked about in the previous training, is preparation leads to confidence. You get that confidence in this business from being prepared, for knowing what to do by doing it. I always tell my athletes, you got to be bad before you're good, and you have to lose before you win. And one of the things, I've got a good friend of mine who's a very successful businessman, and he does a lot of consulting, and he does a lot of testifying in federal court on lawsuits and things. And he always gets kind of keyed up about it. And he says he likens it to the athletics that we used to play. And he said, but the great thing about it is I'm always prepared and I'm always confident. And he came back and said, and you know who taught us that? Our coach taught us that in college. The more you prepare, the more confident you are, the more chances you have to be successful on a regular basis. So preparation, leads to confidence. Number 4, and the final one, is don't be afraid to compete. And I think that's probably the major theme of my training tonight. We've gotten off base, and it's been proven that it's off base in this culture that I think we're coming out of it now. But for a while, we've been entrenched in this culture where everybody is a winner. Everybody feels good. Everybody gets a trophy. Don't be afraid to lose. Competition is for a reason. The best wins. Most times. We've gotten kind of soft about this. I saw a video the other day, and I'm not bashing on millennials, but it was a guy trying to explain how a corporation attempts to motivate millennials based on certain traits that millennials have grown up with. And one of the things they've grown up with is they've on a culture where everybody wins. And they're finding out that that's not good for the winners, and it's not good for the losers. In that situation where everybody wins, the losers have a stigma placed on it because, well, I didn't really feel like I earned that, but I still got the same thing that the winner got who earned it. And the winner who gets it looks at the person who got a trophy with it. So, well, this is kind of, I worked my butt off for this, and this guy got the same thing. It's not right. So you have two people that it kind of alienates. So in this world and in business and in, athletics and politics, there's winners and there's losers. Not everybody's going to win. And that's something that we need to know ourselves. But you've got to lose before you win. How many times do we hear these stories about successful people that failed before they had big successes? And a lot of times people say a lot of people quit right before they get to a breakthrough. So, don't be afraid to compete. My college coach hated to lose, but he taught us, how to win. But he also told us how to lose with dignity. As long as you gave it your best and you kept your mouth shut afterwards and you went back to work afterwards, it's painful, but it's not terminal and it's not going to kill you. It's funny, we talk about measurable metrics, and one of the things I was reading the book about the coach that I played with is how he measures everything, and everything's a competition, and how this is supposed to be some unique thing. Well, 35 years ago when I played and he played, our coach made every practice a competition, and he had measurables all the way through, And you folks have those measurables within your business too. That's why they have, Queen's Court of Sales, Queen's Court of Recruiting. That's why they have special luncheons and dinners. That's why they have director trips and top and national sales director trips. These things are given as awards for people that have achieved a lofty goal, and they're winners. And if you fall short, you're not a loser. You just have fallen short of the goal, and you need to move on. So this whole company was based on a competitive culture. There's nothing wrong with competing. We need to get back into competing. That's why there's people at sales meetings that are, high sales weeks and high recruiting, and whatever the metric or the measurement system that you use to decide what a person has to do to be a winner. Don't shy away from that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what makes people successful. The competition, and the better people and the more competition you have, the better the company or the organization or the team will be. So it's my wish tonight that hopefully you took something from this. I have a prayer for all of you people that you are, this year is the best year of your business life and your personal life, and you continue to grow and just have great blessings and prosperity. And I want to thank every one of you for spending a little bit of time listening to me tonight, and I wish you nothing but the best. Thank you so much. Have a good night.